very excited. Our next guest. We've been living this incredible summer of love with the Phillies. And what a weekend it was. The Phillies taking over London and the UK and all of Europe. He was there firsthand. Let's get to him. The great Tom McCarthy. T-Mac, good morning, buddy.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I mean, I got to tell you, I enjoyed this past weekend. It was just awesome. Obviously, you are a product of the soil here. You understand what it's like in Philadelphia. And to see it transported into another country, taking over like the culture of it, it was such a sense of pride.
It was amazing, honestly, Ant. I mean, I was over there when the Eagles were there, when I did the game in Tottenham for Westwood One. And this was as magical as that. I mean, everywhere you went when the Eagles played, there was green everywhere. Here, I mean, it was a sea of red, whether it be going to Passyunk Avenue to the restaurant, which was just overwhelming, to be honest with you, to just walking the streets of London. You know, it didn't matter where you were. There were Phillies fans, and there were a lot of English Phillies fans as well. In fact, I was shocked how many people from London knew who I was from a broadcasting standpoint. And, you know, it's partly because this team is so good. It's also partly because people have sort of, gravitated to it. But the whole atmosphere, the whole weekend was just phenomenal. I mean, the appearances we had at schools were just great. Our players were unbelievable. The Mets players were really good too. It was just, I don't know. There was nothing negative about it, honestly.
Yeah, there's so much to discuss and unwrap from it. But, I think the Brits gravitated toward the Phillies thing because of the passion of the people. I was talking to somebody who said
no doubt.
Brits, they left the stadium and went, "You baptized us Phillies fans," because they related to the passion.
There's no doubt. I mean, it's almost like their football, their European football, their soccer, that kind of a fan base. I mean, it was just alive. The cricket fan base. They just loved every bit of it. I mean, they were entertained by us. I mean, I think that was part of it. They liked the amount of money we spent over there as well, because we were buying a lot of things and drinking a lot of booze and eating a lot of food. I don't know. It was one of those things that I knew it was going to be good because I've been there for the NFL over the years, but it exceeded my expectations. The games exceeded my expectations. I mean, it was frustrating not to win Sunday's game, but it was a really good ending to the game. It was exciting. But the atmosphere at the stadium, outside the stadium, I told people I wish it upon everybody to go. I really do. I mean, I know it's expensive, but if there's a chance to go follow your team somewhere, it is really neat to see how the Philly fans came out for this.
Yeah, what I thought was cool was baseball, right? Like football's been in England and, it's been a while, right? It's been established.
Yeah.
But baseball's relatively new, and these Londons, I guess, it's the second year. And the fact that you have that kind of outpouring and interest, it was interesting. I was talking to the owner of Passyunk Avenue, and his son,
yeah.
Right. And his son plays in a youth league with Chase's son, right? Like there's youth baseball in London. I'm like, wow, that's just that's so interesting to me because baseball didn't seem like a sport that would have roots there.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Chase has done an awful lot of work with that, whether it be clinics or, starting some of these youth leagues. I think he's done an awful lot to sort of grow the game. He and Jen are going to stay over there for another year with the boys, and he likes it. I mean, I watched him. I got to tell you, one of the greatest things about this weekend was the sort of mini reunion of the 2008 guys, which I wasn't expecting. I knew I was doing an appearance with Cole and with Ryan and with Shane, but then I saw Jimmy there, and Chase was there, Ryan Matson was there, Carlos Ruiz was there, Matt Stairs was there. I saw Stairs in the subway. That was where I saw him for the first time. I mean, it was, he was coming down the escalator. We were both kind of lost going through this vine. By the way, the subway there is unbelievable. This vine of subway cars. It was very funny. But that was kind of cool to me, too, to see those guys come back and they got the chance to hang out together. It was great to see Ruiz, all those guys. It was just, you're talking about the game. So Cole and I are coming back from our one appearance, and our driver has no idea about baseball. So we're trying to explain the game to him. So I'm like explaining certain pieces to it, and Cole's explaining pieces to it from a pitching standpoint, and Mickey Morandini's explaining stuff to him. I sat there, I got out of the car, I said, well, that was one of the coolest things, sort of teaching this person the game of baseball with Cole Hamels and Mickey Morandini. I mean, I don't know, it was very funny.
It is. It's awesome. And I got to give MLB a ton of credit because they made it an event. In fact, I heard from more people that MLB outshined the NFL when it came to just kind of making it an event and making it like a baseball thing and really kind of tantalizing the locals and making it special for them.
Well, I think they did make it special for them. I think they followed a lot of the NFL's blueprint, whether it be the events at Trafalgar Square, which the NFL has done, with these visits to schools that we had, which was really neat because none of these kids really had played baseball before. And you got a chance to watch them play baseball. I do think they followed a lot of the NFL's blueprint, but I do think that their eyes are open to it. You know what I mean? I think they're looking at it and saying, hey, this can work on different places. It doesn't have to just be in the States. I mean, we can, it's going to work in Japan and in Seoul, in South Korea, but it can work in London, and maybe it can work in Germany or, places like that, or Ireland, if they want to go to Ireland for the first time since 1924. It could probably work in Paris too. So I think that their eyes are open to it, much like the NFL. I think their eyes are open to sort of branching out and doing a little bit more.
You know what's nuts is I was at a conference in Siena 2 weeks ago, and going on a bus from actually from Siena to Rome, and what do I see but a baseball diamond outside of Rome? And I'm like, wow, like you never see that. And then, the Phillies, of course, have that kid, the Italian kid, who's the pitcher in the system, who was from Italy, who was born in Italy.
Yeah, it's I do think that the game can grow, and there are players ever. We watched some kids. There were some kids playing in this sort of pickup game that we were at the school. And I watched this one kid hit a ball, and I can see that he had a natural swing to it. But man, was he fast! I mean, he was flying around the bases. So I mean, there could be guys like Aldigari that are in London, that could translate like he did from Italy. Like you could it can happen. The route may be a little different. I mean, think about Australia and how that has sort of grown into not a baseball hotbed, but there's players from from Australia that have been able to tap into playing in the big leagues. So, hey, it's there. I mean, and I think they realize it's there for the taking in a lot of ways.
So you're down at the yard every night, and this season has been utterly spectacular. It's been the spring and summer of love, right? Every night. And you've been doing this a long time, right? And we've been covering games forever. And I was a beat writer in New York and the whole thing. I've never seen baseball consumed in April, May, and June the way it's been consumed at Citizens Bank Park. The level of like playoff kind of atmosphere and cheering and what is it, Tommy? Because it feels like October 2 years ago or last.
Well, I think that and I think that's where it's coming from, man. I mean, I think it's coming from those 2 years. If you remember 2 years ago when the Phillies were playing well and they were vying for the postseason, the crowds weren't necessarily there every single night because people hadn't totally bought in. And I think they've bought in now. And I do think this is a fun team to watch. I think the daycare, the Bohms, the Stotts, the Marshes. I mean, they attract people. I think Harper obviously attracts people. I think Schwarber is the everyman. And I think this pitching staff is really good. And the other part of it, too, I do think the change in rules have brought people back to the game. I know there are people, and I may be one of them, who say, I don't care how long the game is. But I will recognize that these games, the pace of these games are great. And I think people realize that. I don't know. I just think it's taken time. They've built equity these last 2 years with the two teams they had. And I think people are buying into it. It's a lot like it was in 08, 09, and 10, and 11 at the ballpark. There's that atmosphere. And I've always said that you cannot find a place better than Citizens Bank Park when it is filled to capacity. It doesn't matter if it's April, May, or October. You can't find a better facility than this place.
Listen, I'm with you. I think it surpassed that 07 to 11 run. It's the energy.
It may have
the energy. Yeah. Like Tommy Mack. I was with the Yankees in the '90s, and I'm at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, and I mean, listen, you went on a Sunday afternoon in the summer, and it was packed, and it was a sellout, and there was energy. But this energy is even more. It's like on steroids. Like I can't explain it.
No doubt. And the other part of it too is that it is lending itself to the success of this team. I mean, you ask any of the players. I mean, they're feeding off of it. I mean, beyond the fact that they're 27-10, they're 27-10 at home. I mean, it's remarkable to see the success rate that they have at home. So. My hope is that they have a clean week this week against the Red Sox and the Orioles, and they go back home again. They're going to be fairly close to the same number of games at home and on the road by the time this trip ends. And my hope is that they can, they'll be 27-10 at home. I mean, maybe they can be 21 and whatever on the road, and I think that would be a really good thing.
Oh, incredible. But I think your point is spot on about the clubhouse and these players. I mean, and it starts with Bryce. Like, how much fun the soccer slide. You knew he's such a bright lights guy. You knew he was going to go yard, right? Like, all the eyes are on him, and he delivers.
No doubt. I said to him, I told him, I texted with him after the game. I said, you're amazing. I said, you understand the moment better than most people do. And it's remarkable. And where we were sitting, we didn't see the slide, but I was listening to my son because he was doing the Mets game. So I was listening to his call, and he called the slide. And I had to go back and watch the video to see what he actually did. And, that the Victus bat that he was using with the Fanatic and in the Scotland Yard outfit, the whole thing, he gets it. He just understands it, and he puts a lot of the attention on himself and takes it away from everybody else, and because he thrives on it. And he told me, he goes, I just like the fun of it. It's just fun to be part of something like that. And it was great.
It's uncanny. Like, we were ranking the free agents that have come through the town, and whether it was a free agent or a trade, like Moses was a trade, even though it was a real free agent signing. And T.O., and you can go through all of them, Pete Rose. Mm-hmm. Bryce is number one. For the longevity of it, for the fact that he's a true superstar who freaking embraces this thing every which way. I never thought I would see a guy like him who gets it from every angle, and it's genuine. It's not pandering. It's real.
No doubt. I agree with that. People ask me about the free agent signing, and I talked about the Pete Rose signing. I thought Jim Thome was a big one because he sort of helped transition to the ballpark. But you'll be hard-pressed to find anybody like this. The Carlton trade was a really good one, obviously.
Halladay.
Halladay trade. But this signing for him to come to Philadelphia, because he brought people with him as time wore on. He brought the Zach Wheelers with him. He brought the Kyle Schwarbers and the Trey Turners, the Nick Castellanos. I mean, he brought those guys with him. So the impact he's had has been I remember the first couple of years, Ant, when people were asking me about Harper, I said, "Hey, man, Harper's the least of our problems. Like he's done everything we've asked him to do. It's just everybody else around him isn't up to the same level yet, and now they are. So now they are, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm grateful that we have them.
I'll ask you one baseball thing, and then I got one Father's Day thing. Trade. If you're looking at the trade deadline, would you prefer a reliever or would you prefer another bat? And I still think about 2011, and what failed them in the end was the bat, right? Was the Hunter Pence.
Yep. My feeling is they need both, but they don't need drastically both. Like I wouldn't mind getting another reliever. People are talking about getting a closer. I don't think they need a closer.
I don't.
That's my opinion. I think they probably need a Matt Stairs off the bench, somebody like that made a difference in 08. You know, somebody like Greg Dobbs who made a difference, even though he was with the team, you know, at the start of the season. Somebody off the bench like that. Could they use another outfielder? I think it all depends on what Rojas does the rest of the way, honestly, and what Marsh does the rest of the way, honestly. But I think they could use both, but I don't think it has to be a closer that they have to get.
Yeah, I don't think they need to close. I love the back end of their pen. I'm fine.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I'm good with the matchup. Yep.
Yeah, and you know, listen, could always use another arm, but I just always that cautionary. I remember that 2011, and and it's amazing because Pence turns out to be Mr. Clutch in San Francisco, and he really that series killed him.
Well, and I will tell you that weighed on him an awful lot. He's one of the nicest people you'll ever come across. He's so outgoing, and he's great with the fans even now. But I know that when he was traded to San Francisco, when I went over and talked to him after that, he felt almost sheepish talking about his time in Philadelphia because he didn't think anybody liked him at the time. And I told him, I said, Hunter, I said, it's crazy. I said, you know, people liked you. They liked when you came over. But when Ryan Howard went down, he just wasn't able to carry the team the way they expected him to carry the team. And I think that weighed on him big time.
Yeah, that's well put. Hey, last thing, Father's Day Sunday, and I want to get to two moments with you. Here you go, like your son calling the Mets game. Like think about that for a second, sharing that moment, and then sharing the youth baseball career. Like my little guy is 11U player, and dude, the greatest. Like we're off this weekend. We don't have a tournament, and I'm bummed out about it. Like there's nothing better than going through and all those drives and those moments with your kids. Like it's so special, sports and fatherhood.
It is. I mean, it was passed on to me by my dad, you know, and his love for sports. You know, he was the season ticket holder for the Jets and the Giants. Football. He would go to one weekend and another one the next weekend, but he also loved baseball. That was his number one sport. And I'm able to pass it on to all of my kids. You know, the athletic life of it. Watching Patrick do what he's doing is amazing. Being able to watch Tommy play professionally up until this year, and I think he's probably at the end of his career right now playing, and I'm going to miss that. You know, it's great that they have baseball in their life. I mean, Tommy will still have baseball in his life in one way, shape, or form, whether broadcasting, because I think he may do this, or coaching, which is what he's done, and to have Patrick have it. And, you know, even watching my one daughter still compete in track in college, I mean, she loves the sports world, and she loves baseball, too. I mean, they all do. But I am grateful that they have that in their life. I think playing college baseball for both of them and running track for my one daughter, I think it made them better people. I think it makes them better teammates now. I think it's really important that you don't lose sight of how great it is that they play, but it's how great it is that they're on a team and they can take that team with them wherever they go on their walk of life.
Yeah, I'm such a big believer and proponent of it. You know, I got my one plays football. The little one does too, but he's a baseball kid, and the car ride, man, like that car ride, the bond, like the bond with your children that you have in the car is worth everything.
it's worth everything. It's worth everything. I mean, good and bad too. You know, the failure's part of it. It's the good and the bad. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think it teaches so many life lessons, but it also gives us something to sort of bond with, and it'll always be that way. I mean, to see him this weekend and to see him have success this weekend as a broadcaster, his calls were outstanding. It was really cool. It was really cool.
That's beautiful. My brother, be a fun week. We got great baseball, right? Fenway and Camden Yards. Lost in the fact that we come from London and then we get two great parks that are a lot of fun that are really baseball.
And Philly fans are going to be there in droves this weekend in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So.
Happy
Father's Day, brother. Yeah, you too.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. The great Tom McCarthy.
We all silly like the mayor.